Hello, this is Chris at Bristol Braille. If you follow our newsletter, which you can sign up to at www.bristolbraille.org, you hopefully saw recently we announced the forthcoming release of a brand new machine, the Canute Scientific. To find out a bit more about this device, what it can do and who it's for, I spoke to several members of the team. First up, Bristol Braille's MD and founder, Ed Rogers. Ed, in a nutshell, can you tell us what the Canute Scientific is?
The Canute Scientific is a 360 cell braille display with a monitor with a full-size QWERTY keyboard, all in a rugged aluminium case designed to be used as a workstation for STEM subjects. That's science, technology, education, mathematics. It is about 13 by 14 inches and it's about 1.5 inches thick. It's got a 13-inch monitor built into the lid, which is exactly coordinated, synchronized with the layout of the braille display. So you're getting the same information on both of them. And the whole ethos of the design is an open source product, down to the fact that the users are able to upgrade and maintain their device for a lot longer than is usual and will be offering very extended warranties, to the software itself, which is based around the particular requests that we were given over the last 6 years of having the various Canute models out in the market, where people wanted to use it to really exploit what you can do with 40 cells by 9 lines of braille. And what we found you can really exploit is access to data, meaning charts, diagrams, programming, mathematical equations. So it's really making a multi-tool. We have created the means to take whatever you've been given in your education or your employment and to make something which has a tactile and visual output. So you can work in teams of blind and sighted people. You can build applications that work spatially, visually, even if you're reading it in Braille, and vice versa. That's the Canute Scientific in a nutshell.
I guess the clue is in the name somewhat, but who would you say the Canute Scientific is aimed at?
It's aimed at people that have an ambition for something in their career or their education, or a pressing personal hobby which involves data in some way. It may be someone that wants to get into writing video games, or it might be someone that just absolutely needs access to spreadsheets and they need to be able to crunch a lot of numbers. It's all about writing data, it's all about viewing it, and it's about being able to share that with colleagues, both blind and sighted. So who it's for are people that want to achieve something more than might normally be expected as being possible using Braille. People can underestimate how much Braille can add to someone's professional development, and they can therefore underestimate what a blind person can achieve in a given field. Well, a lot of what people assume it needs visuals for can be done if you have a 360 cell Braille display and an imaginative person wielding that Braille display who's able to use the tools that they've been given.
I think it's perhaps fair to say the Canute Scientific is an evolution and a big step on from the Canute console. I just wondered what was perhaps the inspiration or some of the things that informed the development of this new device.
Yes, so the Canute 360 was released at the end of 2019, start of 2020, literally over Christmas, and then we released the Canute console in 2023, which was going from an ebook reader to a device primarily aimed at programming and system administration and the command line. The console continued to evolve as people gave us challenges about what they were using theirs for, and we would make an application based off what someone told us. Someone would buy a machine, we'd offer to build them an application when they bought it, and that would lead us to go down all these different avenues. And some of the stuff that people wanted has been really interesting. Astronomy being one example which has come up more than once. This is where our primary inspiration comes from, is that people telling us what they intended to use their Canutes for, and us saying, well, we can build a device which is really focused around those people that wanted to access spatial data, and they wanted to build things or view things where the data is not readily viewed in a linear fashion on a single line braille display or through a TTS. And like I said, it came down to things like astronomy, robotics, lots of different projects involving programming, but also mathematics, the ability to read technical documents in Word format and be able to support embedded maths equations. It all coalesced around this set of functions which we're building into the Canute Scientific. And the hardware evolution was really that we decided it's time, given that we have always tried to provide longer support for people than, well, as long as we possibly can. And we like keeping our machines in the field operational. We're not expecting people to buy a new machine from us at some point. We want to keep those things going. We wanted to make something which was repairable and modular and open source in the sense that you can view the schematics of the machine you yourself have bought and upgrade it yourself should you want to. And we wanted to make the most rugged device we could, which could last as long as possible. So we've been working with Material Focus, which is a funder based in the UK, in order to make that device. I hope to see Canute Scientifics being used for 15 years or more, and people keep coming back and keeping them upgraded and adding new features both in hardware and software.
That leads on to my next question, really, which is what have perhaps been some of the more surprising things people have wanted to do with a device like the Canute Scientific?
Well, just to pick one example, I mentioned it before, but astronomy and atmospheric data has been a really interesting one because it has come up multiple times in multiple different ways. Weather is an interesting one, which everyone can understand why it's really appealing to have tables and charts and graphs showing you the weather, whether it's in your area or you want to explore the world. And that is then extended to people looking into and building applications which can show the atmospheric data on different extraterrestrial bodies, and then to compare those between those bodies. And this is getting into the field of astronomy and astrophysics, and we've had several of our customers be interested in that. Ben, that's now working on the Canute project, has been of his own volition been developing some of those applications as well. Yeah, it did surprise me how much that particular thing has taken off as a route. You never really know what people are going to want. That's why for us it's so important to make a device rather than starting from the point of view of we're going to make a very particular device with carefully curated, locked down perhaps functions designed for a certain curriculum, designed with the assumption that people are going to have well-made, accessible, very particular file formats given to them as part of an educational program or something. Rather than having a device like that, it was important for us to make a device which was just a general purpose multi-tool with loads of possibility in it, because otherwise we would never have thought that this was one of the things that most inspired people of wanting to look at exactly what the atmospheric pressure is on one of the moons of Jupiter at this particular moment in time. That only comes up when you give people the tools to do stuff themselves.
So exciting times ahead with a new device, new custom applications, access to a lot of data that perhaps blind people have not had before. Where can people go to find out more and find out if indeed this is the right solution for them?
Well, you can of course go to our website, bristolbraille.org. You can contact us at enquiries@bristolbraille.org. I strongly suggest giving us a call or sending us an email. You can book some demo time online or in person on our calendar, which you'll find on the website. That we're very keen on people talking to us to find out what they're going to use, and we can tell them whether this is the right device. We're not trying to push this on everyone. It's not the device for everyone. This is something where we really want to discuss what you want to do, and we'll tell you not only whether this is the right device, but what we can build into it. Because if you are one of the early purchasers of this device, you haven't quite gone public yet, so contact us and we'll send you the brochure before the actual public release. If you're one of the earliest purchasers of this, then there is going to be a first edition, very limited run of the premium, which has a longer warranty of 4 years and comes with us building you a custom application. So if you contact us, we will have a discussion, work out what it is that you're going to do and what it is that you would like us to make custom to you and your machine.
Sounds great, Ed. Thank you very much. And now a few words from Roger Furman, long-time friend of, consultant to, and now a director of Bristol Braille.
I have been a Canute user for a number of years, both the Canute 360 and more recently the Canute console. With the launch of the Canute Scientific, this is yet another important development. In one way, the name says it all. Not just a piece of equipment, but a device which has the potential for opening doors and pathways. STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering and mathematics, focus on practical, technical and analytical skills, preparing students for careers in fields like data science, engineering and health. They are foundational for innovation, typically involving subjects such as biology, chemistry, physics, computer science and engineering. This is a device to practically enhance opportunities in education, employment and not forgetting leisure. The world of science needs to be much more diverse, and anything to promote greater participation from underrepresented groups in society must be good and must flourish.
Next I spoke to Holly Baker, who is an associate lecturer in computing at Bath Spa University. Holly is visually impaired, a Braille reader, and has been doing a lot of work with Bristol Braille, not least road testing the Canute Scientific. Holly, can you tell us what you're using the Console Scientific for in your day-to-day work?
I'm an associate lecturer in computing at Bath Spa, so I've been using it as a presentation tool. I've also been using it for marking, so that means that I've been able to work with spreadsheets and collaborate with my colleagues using the same tools, and also review source code, whereas previously I would have to check things like indentation and variable names and camel case using speech or very large text, which was time-consuming and annoying. Multiline Braille is a lot better.
Can you tell us about some of the specific applications you're using?
I've been using the spreadsheets, which has worked really well. It lets you work with Excel files and it lets you truncate the data so you can show lots and lots of columns of data on one screen, which is great because when you're zooming into 400 times or using speech, you can see about one cell at a time. So this is massive. I've also been using something that I adapted myself from the tactile transport maps, which is a graph viewer to allow you to show any kind of graph or flowchart structures, which are everywhere in computer science. This started off as a bit of a weekend project. I threw it together in a couple of hours, which is awesome. I love how open source everything is, so you can adapt the existing software or build your own to do whatever you need to do. And on one particular weekend, my colleague sent me a numeric crossword, which he thought I might enjoy. And in previous times, I wouldn't really enjoy this because I'd have to move around it cell by cell. And I thought, I can adapt my graph viewer and make it so you can edit stuff. So I did that and completed the crossword and felt like a proper nerd.
Excellent. And speaking of customizing applications, I believe you've written a chess game.
Yes, I did. I thought it might be fun to play chess with friends and family, and since the chessboard is 8 by 8 and we have 9 lines of Braille, I thought it would lend itself quite nicely.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, Holly, but I think what's coming across with the Canute Scientific, it is very adaptable. You've obviously been adapting applications, writing your own code, writing applications, and it seems it lends itself very well to that kind of workflow.
Yeah, 100%. Anything that runs in the command line can be used on the console. Ed got me playing NetHack, which was quite fun. And it's really useful just as a multi-line terminal interface, because if you've ever used the terminal using speech, you might realize that you have to go back using the virtual cursor, try and figure out where you are. And it's just nice to have the actual command line output in front of you.
Now we'll speak to Ben Wright, a visually impaired Braille reading developer who's been working on a lot of the applications you'll find on the Canute Scientific. Ben, can you outline for us some of the things you've been working on?
Okay, so I am a software developer who's been developing software for the Canute Scientific, working on applications And I've basically been using the existing libraries that have been developed for the Canute console, so to help visually impaired individuals access things such as graphs through Braille, which are traditionally a little bit difficult to access using single line Braille displays. Obviously, the Canute console and the Canute Scientific are multi-line Braille displays, and I've basically been utilizing those libraries and capabilities to create those sort of data types and visualizations in application-based contexts that would be beneficial to visually impaired people in education and employment. A big project I've been working on is a weather app that will allow visually impaired individuals to view trends in weather in real time. So that could be, say, temperature over the next 24 to 48 hours, rainfall, etc., etc. A bit like a traditional weather app you'd get on a mobile phone. I've also been working on a space-based weather app, which is basically more of an educational app to educate people on how weather varies across different celestial bodies. So I've done an Earth versus Mars comparison to show sort of temperature variability, because that's different across both of those planets. I've also been working on testing an NVDA driver. Obviously, NVDA is a screen reader for Windows that basically dictates what you're interacting with in the Windows operating system. And basically this driver allows that dictation to be displayed on the Braille display. That'll mean that when you're using NVDA to navigate the operating system, you'll also get sort of a Braille screen reader functionality on your Canute. You can connect it via USB cable. So very useful for those who utilize Braille as well as a traditional sort of Windows computer or laptop.
Yeah, so that sounds like some exciting stuff there, and I was going to mention the NVDA driver testing. That will open up the Canute Scientific to a whole load of other users and use cases. I wanted to ask you as well, actually, as a blind developer yourself and obviously a Braille reader, I just wondered if you could say something about how it's been to use a multi-line display as a developer.
Yeah, so the multi-line display is very useful and intuitive because it essentially enables the visual display. So the Canute is a Linux-based operating system, so you're working with sort of your traditional command line terminal. It allows that output to be mapped directly in Braille, and obviously that transfers to applications as well. So whenever you're using or testing an application on the Canute, you get the exact same visual display as you get Braille display. So that is very intuitive. It basically allows you to compare those against each other and ensure that the user experience is great in both Braille and print. It's especially useful, as I said, because obviously the Braille display being multi-line, it allows you to do a lot more representing sort of two-dimensional visualizations such as graphs. But not only is it good for sort of the capability of what we can provide in terms of Braille accessibility with the Canute, it's very useful for development as well, both because you can see the same thing on this visual display as the Braille display as well. But if you were just a solely a Braille user using the Canute and you didn't have any useful vision to be able to access the visual display, unlike myself, you wouldn't be disadvantaged in any way because you'd be getting the exact same code output while you're developing on the Braille display. You'd be able to read multiple lines at once, which is very useful in terms of establishing sort of the logic that's going on in your code, debugging that, checking it's all, appropriate, but also for when you're using the applications as well. So you're getting as much information on the display at once as possible, so that it's as intuitive as it can be.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that's been my experience when trying to write things in Python, the way it uses white spaces with functions. Being able to see that on a multi-line Braille display makes it much easier. You can feel the indentations and feel the kind of the gaps in the logic blocks and so on. Just one last question, Ben. Given the Canute Scientific's capabilities, and you may have already hinted at this, is there anything in particular you're excited to see come to the application suite, or things that might be in the pipeline or potential coming down the line?
I'd say that what most excites me really is just that, based off sort of the building blocks I mentioned we've created in terms of the Canute development libraries, in terms of the graph capabilities, charts, and also tables and that sort of thing. I'm just sort of excited for those to be utilised in more applications as we, as in Bristol Braille, as developers, continue to develop, and obviously, like, as clients come to us with more ideas of things they'd like to be made accessible in different subject areas and areas of employment, particularly in STEM. And I'm just also excited to see what the community who get the Canute Scientific, sort of the wider visually impaired community and whatnot, what they come up with in terms of development as well, because their ideas and their work are also very valuable to us in making more areas of education, employment, etc., accessible to those with visual impairment and Braille users.
I'm here in the Bristol Braille workshop in the heart of Bedminster, where everything's made and put together, with our assemblers, Mitch and Charlie. Charlie, if I can ask you first, what bit are you working on? What have you been doing, today?
Today I've been fixing the LCD screen on one of the 3D printers, which was quite a in-depth job actually, so it's taken me about 5 hours, but I finally finished it now, so the 3D printer should be up and running soon.
Good work, and I won't interrupt you both for too long. Mitch, what bit are you working on?
So I am currently putting together display screens for the old consoles, which are going to be repurposed for a new version of the Canute that will be coming out very, very soon.
So this is the high definition screen, the visual display part.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. It's not a particularly difficult process, but it involves a lot of glue, and unfortunately my hands are very sticky now.
Fair enough, yeah. And obviously from being in here myself and just hearing you guys, although I know nothing about how to put these things together, I know there are a lot of processes and bits, whether it's sort of 3D printing, putting the chassis together, the computing and electromechanical components. Are there any particular parts of the whole process, that you enjoy more than others, or perhaps there's some parts that you approach with a bit more trepidation?
So, in my case, I enjoy the process of putting it together, and I hate the process of making it work properly.
Yeah.
They are very intricate machines with a lot of parts that can snag and get caught in places, and it becomes a bit of a puzzle once you finish the actual puzzle, which is putting it together. So, yeah.
I actually love the assembly work, so we're printing like parts from scratch and putting them together and soldering bits, and I get real stuck into that. I tend to hyper focus on things like that. So yeah, that's my favourite, is doing the assembly work, and then once you get one up and running, it is so satisfying to know that you've built that from scratch basically. So yeah.
Shall we tell people what the kazoo is? The trumpet.
Oh yeah.
So we have a kazoo that we keep around specifically for when a Canute is finished and is ready to be fully encased and posted. There's a lot of spinning parts, and if the braille doesn't come out right, that's a problem. So when it finally does, we get so excited that we have a little kazoo.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, as you say, there's a lot of moving parts, and the finished article doesn't leave here until it's been tested and checked out by you guys. So that's all good. Thanks for listening. To find out more about the Canute Scientific, including some special pre-launch prices and upgrade offers, drop us a line, inquiries@bristolbraille.org. You can also check our website, www.bristolbraille.org, where you can sign up to the newsletter and find out which events we'll be attending across the year.